My name is Rob Swan, and this is Rob Swan's Down to Business. I am the owner of Swan Realty, and I have been an entrepreneur my entire life. I love entrepreneurs. If you are an entrepreneur with an interesting story to tell, I want to hear about it, so please hit me up. Hi guys, this is Rob Swan with Rob Swan's Down to Business, and I am so lucky today. I was able to wrangle Chris Fogden, who's been a Taoseño for so long, and he is currently running Donabe's Japanese restaurant, which is just a little bit north of the Taos Inn. I've always been intrigued by this place, drive by it all the time. When I finally got Chris to sit down and talk to me about it, we are going to talk about Chris's restaurant here, and then I'm going to dig into Chris. Chris has been basically a serial entrepreneur in the community for years. So I'm going to drill down on Chris on what it really takes to be an entrepreneur. But first, Chris, thank you so much for taking your time. I know you are a busy guy. I got a bunch of questions I want to ask you.
Well, thank you, Rob. I appreciate you coming today.
No worries. Now, I'm going to start with the hardest question first, because after that, everything's going to be easy. Okay, you ready?
I'm ready.
Ginger or Marianne?
Ginger.
Well, now we have it. Everything's going to be easy after this. So, Chris gave me this card. This is his card for the restaurant here. It's called Donabe. This is the thickest business card I've ever seen. I think I've seen pieces of firewood that were thinner than this. But anyway, so Chris, Donabe, that is an interesting name, and I want you to tell me what that means.
Well, Donabe is, it's the Japanese word for earthen clay pot.
So I grabbed one, I cheated. This is a Donabe.
Correct.
And so food is actually prepared and served in this dish.
That is correct.
Hence the name of your restaurant,
Yeah.
which is what this picture is on the back of the card?
Yeah.
So, interesting name. So, okay, here's the elephant in the room question. I am not an expert on people's nationalities by any means. You are the proprietor, co-proprietor, your partner, Marshall. You do not appear to have any Asian nationalities to you guys at all, but yet you open up this very successful Asian restaurant, and the food is freaking phenomenal in here. So how did that happen? How does that really happen?
It kind of happened because my partner Marshall, he has a background in Asian food, and when we decided to start this restaurant, it was all about good food, good art, and history. We live in this historic building here. The food is historic in the sense that it's old school food. We brought old school food back to Taos because there's burritos everywhere.
Right, well,
we needed to create some diversity. That's what our community is all about, is diversity.
Okay, but how do two guys know how to make phenomenal Asian food? How did that happen? There's some knowledge and some education somewhere.
I know nothing about Asian food.
Well, that's the most honest answer.
It's good. It's really tasty. I love it. Interestingly, being a proprietor in an Asian restaurant, there's a lot of things I can't eat. I'm allergic to nightshades. I can't do eggplant. I can't do tofu. I can't do soy in general.
Okay.
But I sell soy left and right.
Right.
So it's just, there's...
Now, you had mentioned that Marshall had spent some time in some Asian communities somewhere, basically perfecting his art with some true masters. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
That's correct. Marshall spent some time in London in the Asian district after he went to a couple of culinary schools on the East Coast. Marshall's from the Rhode Island area.
Okay.
And
which explains his accent.
Exactly.
I have a hard time understanding it, but I'm learning. But anyway, go ahead.
The good old New England accent. Nothing Asian about it.
Right.
But yeah, Marshall just, ever since he had his first spring roll, he had an affinity for this food.
Wow.
And he chased after it. He went out there and said, this is what I want to do. And he has perfected it. And he brought his talents here to Taos, and somehow we teamed up, and here we are. I don't know what to say beyond that. I really don't.
Okay, here's what I want to know.
All right.
I don't have a huge experience with Asian food except for Chinese takeout and going down here to Smith's grocery store and getting some sushi from the little counter and walk around and eat the sushi while I'm shopping.
Gotcha.
Okay, so you got to tell me, what is the difference between Chinese food and Japanese food? I have no idea, so help us.
Sure. Well, I'd like to elaborate a little bit. Donabe is more of a Southeast Asian cuisine. It pans the whole Southeast Asian district. So we have Thai, Filipino, Japanese, Korean. It's a mixture of all of that.
Okay.
The main difference between regular old Chinese food and what we have to offer here is basically about the broth. Chinese food tends to be more like a gravy mix.
Okay.
Whereas Southeast Asian food tends to have more broths involved. Lots of flavor, lots of herbs, lots of spices.
Okay, when we came in, I went back in the kitchen and one of your cooks is back there and he's got this giant pot full of bones and he's stirring these around. And did you guys say that some of these broths take up to 4 days to make?
That's correct. It's a long process. You know, we got big old local beef bones and they need to be boiled and the marrow needs to be cooked out of them and into the water, into the broth. And then they add seasonings. They roast everything before it even happens. They roast the vegetables, they roast the bones, they throw it in the pot.
Wow.
Then they boil. And they add and they boil and they add and they boil. It's a process.
By the time I order something, I got your menu here. By the time I order something off of this menu, there's a chance that somebody's been working on that dish for the past 4 days.
That's correct.
That is amazing. I'm not sure. I've never been in the back of a Chinese kitchen, but it seems to me that happens pretty fast because my orders always come out quick. But so I guess if you've had Chinese food, this is nothing like it, and you really need to give this a shot.
Certainly. It's different than just the regular old Chinese food you're going to find here in town.
Gotcha.
Their broth comes out of a can.
Okay.
Our broth comes out of the tap, and it comes out of love.
Oh, wow.
And that's the difference.
So there was a lot of love going on there between your cook and that big old pot of bones I saw?
Wes is awesome. Wes loves everything he does, and he's just great. And that's what's nice about the back in the kitchen. Everybody that works back there really enjoys what they're doing.
Oh, good.
As long as I'm not yelling at them, we're in good shape.
Okay, love the restaurant, love the food, atmosphere is super cool in here. I want to talk about Chris Fogden, the entrepreneur. This is not your first foray into being an entrepreneur. I know you have been an entrepreneur in multiple things here in town. Can you elaborate on some of your other businesses that you've done here in Taos?
Sure. When I first moved to Taos, there was kind of a economic downturn going on, and I'd worked at a ski shop during the winter season. I'd moved here in the fall, started working at a ski shop, and said to myself, I need to go back to where I came from. I need to work for myself. I'm tired of being a puppet for somebody else. I can do this on my own. So I opened up a used sporting goods store. We called it Grandpa Harold's Outdoor Emporium.
And that was down in front of the Outback Pizza, correct?
Correct.
In that little building.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah. It was a great little store. In fact, I used to sell bikes that you used to rent.
Right.
You would bring them in, consign them with me, and I would sell them to the locals, and everybody had a nice new bike to go cruise around on.
Then did you not have an advertising business at some point also?
I did. It was called Taos Peddler Ads.
Okay.
I had a mountain bike with a trailer and a 4-foot by 4-foot sign traveling behind my bike, and I would advertise for businesses around town. Started off advertising for myself, Taos Peddler Ads.
And then you started selling ads to other people. So you had a bicycle with a trailer behind it and with basically a billboard.
Yeah, it was an A-frame billboard.
So kind of like those trucks on the Las Vegas Boulevard that go up and down with the big LED screen on it, except you probably weren't advertising strip clubs and you didn't have a big truck.
Yeah, pretty much. I was advertising furniture and other restaurants and things of the sort. Yeah, it was pretty fun. I had some big calves that summer.
I bet you did. Okay, so you have, what I've always liked about you, Chris, is your resilience. You go from one thing to another, and I've been an entrepreneur my whole life also, and I know that some of the things that I, did, businesses that I started, they don't always succeed. But there's something inside me that keeps going. So I want to know, you tell me, what is inside Chris that goes, hey, that didn't work out like I thought it would, or this is going to work better. What is it that makes you go, I'm off to my next business. This one succeeded or it didn't, but I'm not going to quit doing this. What is inside you that makes you keep going?
Rob, this goes pretty deep.
Okay.
When I was 13 months old, I was burned on the upper part of my body.
Okay.
I lived in an oxygen tent for 15 months.
Wow.
Of the 15 months, for about 12 of those months, I was strapped to my bed so I wouldn't touch myself after my skin grafts.
Holy cow.
I was restrained. I was held back. As I got older, things got in my way. And I reflected on that and said, you know what? You're a survivor.
Yeah.
You just keep plugging along. Don't let anyone tell you you can't do something, because they've told you before you can't do it. They wrote you off as dead. Your mom believed in you, and you started wiggling your toes. They freaked out. He's alive.
So they really thought you were going to survive that.
They thought, no, they wrote me off as dead.
Wow.
I had 2 social security numbers.
So you just keep reflecting back to that and go, if I can get through that, the fact that one of my businesses didn't work out the way I thought it would is a piece of cake, and it is so unimportant compared to what I've been through. Wow.
There's a lot of roadblocks that just plow through them.
Every entrepreneur has so many challenges. You're the advertising guy, you're the marketing guy, you're the human resource guy, you're the attorney, you're the accountant, you're everything. And I've done this my whole life. And
right.
So I have an affinity for entrepreneurs. I'm just amazed at what keeps them going, and that's all the show is really about, is to start digging these things out of people. So I am super happy that you've got this successful restaurant here. I think it's fantastic. I so encourage everybody to come down and try this. He's got this cool little bar here. Have some sake with your foods. But anyway, I'm going to wrap this up, Chris, and I'm just so thankful that you did this. But before I do, I want you to give some advice to any possible would-be entrepreneur, that might be thinking, it's like, man, if Chris can do that, maybe I can do it. Because I want to inspire people that maybe feel like they're stuck in a rut and going, I'm not happy. Could I be an entrepreneur? Chris did it. So do you have any advice?
My advice is, don't chase the money. Chase your heart. Be alive. That's what it takes to be an entrepreneur. You're never going to make money. But you are going to keep yourself happy.
Exactly.
And that's what's important. Making sure that the people that work with you are happy, making sure that you're happy, making sure that your family's happy. Happiness is what we're about.
Speaking of, you have 16 employees. You went from Chris all by himself to you're supporting 16 people now. Not to mention, you're having a lot of your clay pottery made that you have here. It's made locally. So it's just...
It's community.
Yeah,
we're all about community.
But this is the point. It's just that one entrepreneur can do so much. So not only are you helping yourself, you're helping so many other people, and that's what I want to really get across to anybody that's thinking about being an entrepreneur. It's not just about you. It's about your ability to do this, and how that spreads throughout the community. So
it's about trust. If you can't trust yourself, you can't trust anybody else. And that's part of being an entrepreneur, is having the trust in yourself, in the ability to pass that on to the people who work for you. And when you create a trust, you create a team that does not crumble. And it's hard, it's challenging to get there.
It's challenging every day, isn't it?
It is, every single day. But guess what? We have a great family here.
That is awesome.
And that's what it's about. It's community, family, art, history, good food. That's what we're all about today.
Excellent. All right, I'm going to wrap this up, but I have one more hard question for you. This is the last one. Are you ready?
All right, bring it on.
Chuck Norris or John Wayne?
More of a John Wayne guy.
Well, there you have it. That you now know all about Chris, exactly where he stands on all the modern issues that are facing us. John Wayne and Ginger. You know, I can't argue with that. But Chris, thank you so much for your time.
All right, Rob.
I can't wait to come back and have some more food. You guys aren't open today, but we'll be shortly.
Yep, starting tomorrow.